Hi, everybody. Marni and family are at Disney World. Felicia is actually not in Greece yet, but she's getting ready for Greece. So we are doing a bonus episode on a few things. Thank you for joining us.
Welcome to Hi Felicia. Hi Felicia. Hi Felicia.
KC, thank you for being here.
Happy to be here, Marni.
This is so weird.
This is so weird.
I've got KC sitting in Felicia's spot. How do you feel? KC.
I feel like Mark Consuelos right now to your Kelly Ripa. I'm ready to sub in.
But he's no longer a sub. He's permanent.
Oh.
Did you not know that?
That's my subtle way of saying I'm moving in on Felicia. Big shoes to fill.
It is. And I know that she did not watch anything Scott Peterson.
Of course not.
We did the work.
I didn't plan on watching anything Scott Peterson either, but I feel like...
You know what? I just want to say this. You made it sound like you don't do true crime
I do
shows.
True crime.
You do true crime. Why did you say that the other night? Like yesterday, you're like, I don't do true
probably would
crimes.
not have watched these if there wasn't like a bigger plan to talk about them because,
Well, I will say. So
I'm filling in for Felicia.
She would have never done this, though.
This.
So you're not filling in for her.
Well, we're doing this because everybody's away. That's a little breaking the fourth wall here. This is what's going on. So
there was 2 Scott Peterson docs.
There were.
The Netflix one, which we watched first, which dropped first. Okay. And then there was a Peacock one, 3 episodes as well. When you start watching the Peacock one, I know you felt the same way. And I actually spoke to my friend Jamie, who stopped watching it because you're like, we know all this information.
Right. It was very repetitive to things we probably already knew.
Very until the 3rd episode of Peacock. Right. So the Netflix one is very, very, Scott is guilty. He's a bad person. It's very Lacey forward. And it's Lacey's mom is in it. A lot of the people interviewed in the Netflix doc were also interviewed in the Peacock doc.
Right.
Like
I think that was an
sister.
interesting thing that I took notes of. I did take notes.
Good for you.
I don't show up to a podcast unprepared.
Great. I taught you.
One of the notes I did take, it was interesting to see who participated in one but not the other, which led me to believe that there was first explain what the second one was. It was in his words. It was the first interviews with Scott Peterson since his conviction. He had not done any public.
Correct. This was the first time he's being interviewed. He's being interviewed over, let's say, Zoom. He's, Zooming, FaceTiming, and the background is blurred.
It is. But the way this all came about was the filmmaker had been researching the case and felt compelled to put together something that was more explaining his side of the story. I don't think I realized this, but there are a lot of people out there that maybe don't go as far as to say that he didn't commit this murder, but that he maybe didn't get a fair trial or the investigation was skewed from the beginning. So she was one of these people that I believe felt that way.
Yes, but I also feel like we didn't really get the sense of that until the 3rd episode of Peacock. The first episodes were all right, we know this story.
Right. So the first Netflix documentary was very much the old story, same narratives, interviewing the family, everybody.
And the same detectives.
Mother was there, the same detectives.
Same lawyers.
The second one was kind of based around his interviews that this filmmaker put together. So this woman that interviews him in jail, and then they kind of base the story around his narrative of what his side of the story was, which nobody's really heard since.
But he didn't really say his side. He was just I didn't.
He had an explanation for everything. In fact, were we watching the same thing? She literally showed every piece of evidence against him and said, how do you explain this? How do you explain that?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like the affair, all of these things. Why did you show no emotions? Why did you carry on with this woman while your wife was missing? He's potentially a sociopath where he had an answer and was calm demeanor, but his answers weren't beyond the realm of possible, right? There's certain things like that was a biggie for me during the Netflix documentary. He's why is he while he's at his wife's candlelight vigil, also calling his mistress, who doesn't know he's connected to this, and saying things like, I want to be with you, yada, yada, yada.
So explain to people that aren't going to watch it why he did that, what his excuse was.
Well, throughout all of his excuses were, I didn't want to be the center of this investigation. I wanted the police to focus on where my wife is, right? So he felt like if that affair came to light, he was going to immediately, this was going to be the motive. And he said, I didn't want her to come out. I mean, for a lot of reasons, I'm sure, but also because he didn't want them to go, oh, see, he killed her because he's seeing this woman, blah, blah, blah. So he said he was sweet talking her in order to keep her kind of at bay. That could be bullshit. Who knows? But like
The
my
affair
point
was
is
definitely his biggest downfall.
Right. And he's like, I wanted to keep her.
Even if for
I didn't
some
want her to
reason
go
he
crazy
didn't do
and
it.
like
Yeah.
and start talking to the cops because I wanted the focus to remain on where's my wife. Now, look, this guy's also had 21 years to prepare these answers. So like there could be a reason he was very confident with his, but he had an answer for everything.
Don't be mad at
and he had a counter explanation for like what happened to her.
Don't be mad at what I'm going to say. Scott Peterson is looking kind of good in jail.
He did. He did.
He's chiseled. He lost some weight.
I mean, he's.
What do you think he's doing? I would love to know. I'm sure he's.
You want to look into the Scott Peterson regimen?
I'm just hoping he's writing a journal. He's going to come out with a book. I mean, that's what you do when you're in prison, right? You do yoga, you work out, you get into fights, you eat well, I guess. I don't know. I feel like he looked good. He looks clean. I don't mean like clean, but just like he looked good.
Yeah, no. Huey Lewis has been your pass, but I guess like we could make Scott Peterson your one pass. Sure.
So the last episode of Peacock is showing you. I mean, they sprinkle it in, evidence that didn't come to light in the trial.
And there was a lot of it. There was a lot of things, and that's what I said when he offers a counter story.
Right. So there's this van.
Right. So they talk about it in the first documentary.
They don't mention the van, though.
They don't mention the van, but
they mention
that there was
the
a
burglary.
There was a burglary. These guys were very quick to admit to it. These two guys. And
right.
They said,
passed a polygraph
on the
test.
27th, right? Basically, the neighbors across the street had left out of town, and she had supposedly disappeared on Christmas Eve. So these guys were like, yeah, we broke into that house on the 27th. And the cops were like, well, that actually didn't happen the 27th because these people, the neighbors were home by then. And they're like, oh, and we mean the 26th. So the theory was that she interrupted a burglary on the 24th.
Right. This is like this new idea. If Scott didn't do it,
this is
the narrative of what potentially happened.
But it's not just Scott pitching this. Like there was his sister-in-law,
who's now went to law school,
in the
which
first documentary.
I love her.
She defended him in the first documentary, where the narrative was consistently he did it.
Yeah.
So she's also in the second documentary, the Peacock one, and she went back and got her law degree.
Yeah, I really like her.
She was very involved in all of the appeals and all of the things.
So this is the storyline that the Innocence Project is taking.
Right.
This is the new.
Well, that's how it all kind of resurfaced.
Yeah.
Is the Innocence Project has stepped in, which they don't really do this unless they believe that there was something.
Right. That's what they said on the Peacock doc.
Right.
The Innocent Project doesn't take something.
So basically,
on
I'm sorry, we're all over the place here, but his argument was there was a burglary on the 24th, and that she interrupted it. There was like several men involved, and they grabbed her and like drove
Threw her
off.
in a van.
Threw her in a van. Now, there was also a witness, if you remember, that says that he saw a woman
Get thrown into a van.
get thrown into a van. Not thrown into a van, but like
Manhandled.
But at a different location. A pregnant woman in the area, as if she had to get out and pee, they said. Like he said, you saw her use the bathroom, and then they roughed her up and put her back in the van.
And he called the
police, and the police were like, okay, we'll consider it. And like, they didn't follow up on this. The
whole thing is shade. What I don't love about this is it's giving me Karen Reed vibes,
right?
Which is, what are the cops covering? Something shady is going on. But is this really possible? Like, is it? Do we really think Scott Peterson did not do this? This is wild. Van.
There was a van
with
that
blood
matched the
on the
description,
van
with
in the
blood
van,
on it, and the cops just disregarded it. They found this van burned a mile or so from where she was abducted. They find a van that, and there were neighbors that said, we saw a van across the street. Cops disregarded it because it didn't match the narrative. His defense basically is that the cops decided right off the bat, this guy did it. Now, this has also attracted massive amounts of media. Like, people clung on to this story. People go missing all the time, but this was a compelling story in the national news because she was an attractive woman. She was pregnant, all the things. So now you got media involved and all this pressure, and like the media loves a story, right? And the story of this man that, it's just not, everybody kind of decided early on that he did it. And maybe they decided that because he actually did it. But I mean, not just the media attention, the people that attached themselves to the story. I mean, you remember the hundreds of people that stood outside the courthouse and gathered to hear that he was convicted?
They did that for OJ too.
But who does that? Would you ever go sit outside a courthouse?
I did that for Britney Spears. No, I'm just kidding. I didn't.
But it takes a certain type of person to do that, right?
Ever, no.
But it compelled people for some reason.
Yeah, I mean, people have nothing to do. So basically, we're waiting for the DNA test to come back for this blood. What happens?
Turns out he's 100% that bitch.
That was not good. I don't like what you just.
Lizzo?
No, I got that. I just didn't know where you were going with that. Interesting move there. So Casey,
gonna cut that in post.
Casey, do you think audience should watch both of these docs? One of these docs?
Definitely don't watch one. Watch both.
Watch both.
Right, because it gives you kind of it also lets you, like, I felt this way when I watched Making a Murderer, that like there's an agenda with the documentary, right? Like they're telling a story and then they want to kind of pull you one direction and the other and blah, blah, blah. But what they fail to, this reminds me a lot of Making a Murderer, because my conclusion after Making a Murderer was like, they're pulling you back and forth. Was he framed or did he kill this woman, right?
Right.
Did the cops set him up or did he kill? So at the end of the day, I'm like, he killed her. The cops padded the case by like planting evidence because they want to make sure it sticks because they know he did it, right? They're like, this guy did it. We don't want this case to like screw up. So we're going to navigate this thing so there's no way he's going to be acquitted. And I feel like that's similar here.
Do you think he did it? Do you think he's innocent? If he's innocent.
You said the other night, you probably don't remember saying this. You said, if he's innocent, he is the least lucky person in the world.
I did say that. Did I? That's a good statement.
He's the most unlucky man. And it's true because like if he didn't
This is your biggest fear.
It is my biggest fear.
Your biggest fear is
my biggest fear is being wrongfully accused of murder or whatever. Just having to defend myself when I know in my heart, like, I didn't do this. And then, you slowly you start seeing your family go, maybe he did. You know what I mean? Like, eventually these people all turned on him.
But you know who didn't turn on him is his family.
And
his
whole
family
family
did not turn on him.
Now, look, like, if he did it, they should turn on him. But, like, the idea of being somebody who's like, and then, like, a lot of these guys just take plea deals because
I know, but
the DA is like,
did.
look.
He's not, he never
took a deal.
Ever.
Never took a deal. And I don't know.
Wild.
He says in that second the Peacock documentary, the reason he didn't show a lot of emotion is he really believed that
he didn't do it. So he didn't.
He's like, this is all going to work out. He said
Right.
he said that when he got that verdict, everything collapsed on him because he really carried himself in this way of like, I didn't do this.
Are you
this is all gonna work
surprised
itself out.
he didn't take his own life? Because like at that point, I don't think I'd be able to live. Like, what do I have to live for? My wife's dead. My future child is dead. People think I did it. Why do I have to live? But he's fucking been doing this for 21 years.
Well, no, I mean, would I kill myself if
Yeah.
if I did do it? If I did, I mean, I wouldn't do it. But if I probably would not be able to live with myself if I killed my wife and unborn child.
So then he would have, but maybe since he didn't kill himself, but Jeffrey Epstein did. Oh no, Jeffrey Epstein was
let's say if he did do it, he's clearly a sociopath, right?
Yeah,
And
and he's convinced
sociopath-
himself that he didn't do it.
Right. So like it could be either
Right.
way.
What's
But
your note?
One of the notes I took was I thought it was interesting because the investigators were in both documentaries.
Yes,
right?
they were.
My opinion
They
or my
were.
viewpoint of them
So I didn't know if they
shifted
got paid.
from one to the other. Like the first documentary, you're like, these are the guys that
Yep.
pulled it together.
Totally agree.
And then like they start falling apart, and it's not just because
They're bringing up the evidence that what didn't go to trial. Why
Right.
didn't this go to trial?
Why
And they're
didn't-
like,
and that was another thing too.
they're like, we know this case better than anybody. There's a reason for everything.
What's the reason?
Right.
And they kind of just got they kind of fell off. Like there were witnesses that saw her walking her dog outside of the timeline that Scott Peterson had already left his house.
That they did not use.
There
They
was
chose
like
not
4
to use
people
these
that saw a
witnesses.
pregnant woman walking a golden retriever in that neighborhood after the timeline of when Scott Peterson left his house that morning.
I turned to
They
you and I
disregard that
said,
because that does not put him in at the time.
what did I turn to you and say at that moment? I was like, would you remember like a woman walking the dog? And he's like, yeah, if she was like 8 months pregnant.
Yeah, very pregnant, walking a dog, and so like, look, that I thought that was interesting how my perception of the investigators started, shifting over the time.
Now I'm confused. I'm just confused. One doc, I'm like, he's an asshole. He did it. Second doc, he did it. Uh-oh. Oh, shit, he might have not done it.
Right. Well, look, in the
Which would be
court
like
of
the
law,
upset. It would be the biggest upset in America of the fucking justice
there was one
system.
juror that I saw in both documentaries.
Yep.
And he was like, he took his job as a juror
So seriously.
And he said, in the court of law, like you have to go into basically he said you have to go into and I know this because I've been a juror.
Yeah, Casey was. And
was
it
a
was
juror.
wild.
And I took the same approach that this man did. I was a juror on an attempted murder, assault with a deadly weapons case. Los Angeles, downtown LA. I had to go to the courthouse. I had to report for 2 weeks, and I heard this trial from front
He
to
loved
back.
it.
I'm a born juror.
And I'm aboard. Get me out of this. I've got medical issues. Give me the letter.
It is my civic duty.
You love it.
Basically, what this guy did, I loved being a juror. And I would do it again in a heartbeat.
Oh my God.
But what he said and the my philosophy as a juror, I shared with this man, is that
you gotta wake up so early every single day. They pay you what, $40?
Oh, less than that. In California, in those days, it was $8 a day. It
No.
didn't even cover lunch.
Shut up.
And I would
that
get
should
out
be
at
against
5
the law.
and then rush to work to do haircuts because I had to work because there was just
That should be against the law.
$8 a day in California at that time.
That's a shame.
And so my philosophy, this man's philosophy is when you go into a court, you always hear innocent until proven guilty. And that's what you have to think. You have to think this guy didn't do it. The burden of proof is on the prosecution. You convince me why this guy did it.
Right.
Right? Like you have to be completely, it's not even being neutral. You have to say, this guy didn't do it. Show me how he did.
And now I feel like there's reasonable doubt. And that's the problem.
That's the problem. So like,
if there's reasonable doubt, now I can't prove him guilty, right?
But the pieces of reasonable doubt to me are things that the jury was not allowed to hear, like the van, like they wouldn't let the burglary into the trial. They wouldn't accept it.
But now here's my pushback. I don't like that they found him fleeing to Mexico with tens of thousands.
He explained that.
Different color hair, money, IDs. Why do you have burner phones? He had different phones.
He explained
what was his
the money.
explanation for the phones?
He didn't say anything about the phones.
I
It
know.
wasn't how many. He had 2 phones.
He had more than one.
The money. He said, I just sold a truck to my brother who paid me with cash.
Why do you have his brother's license?
He wasn't fleeing to Mexico. Now, and they said that in the documentary. They said, we live in San Diego. That's 30 miles from the Mexican border. That's not fleeing. He was going to play golf, and thought he was being followed by. And that was another thing too. When they arrested him, they didn't arrest him because they had like the case together to arrest him. They were tracking him. He thought that people tracking him was the media, so he tried to lose them. And the cops were like, "Oh, he's driving recklessly. We got to pull him over." And that's when
I didn't realize that it was the paparazzi that was following.
It wasn't the paparazzi.
It was media.
It was the cops. He thought it was the media.
He thought it was media. But why was his hair colored?
The hair color thing, he never...
a little shady. He said he didn't want to be recognized.
He also had his brother's
like,
ID, which was something they
I
tried to use. He said, I was using it to get a discount on the golf I was about to go play. Because he looks like his brother. He's like,
doesn't
look,
look
the address
good.
on that... he had an answer for everything. Again, he had 21 years to concoct these answers, but they are reasonable doubt. There is no DNA evidence against him. There's no real motive other than like this made-up narrative that like he wasn't ready to be a dad, so he's going to kill his wife and unborn child.
Right. That's
you know what I mean?
that's
They never
the problem.
established like that there was like chaos with their relationship.
No.
There was
And
no motive. There was reasonable doubt. So
There was
like,
a tiny bit of blood on their bed.
Tiny bit of blood on his bed. His
just
own
like,
bed.
what if
his
he
own
picked a
blood.
pimple?
I mean, come on. There's, I just think that, again, my own juror philosophy, this man is innocent. Show me how he's not. That's the job of the prosecution. And if they fail to do their job, the man walks. And it sucks if guilty people go free, but it also sucks if innocent people go to jail. So that's why we have a system the way we do. That's my take.
So we don't have a conclusion here.
No.
After these 2 docs, 6 episodes in total, there's a question.
He probably killed her and it was a shitty case against him. That's my takeaway.
All right. I really hope they do follow-ups, or I hope we find out when
I don't
the
think there's
DNA.
any more to say. And actually,
no, there's more. I want to know
Right,
about the
I guess
DNA.
I wanna know about the DNA.
If her DNA pops up, that's
on that, if
mattress.
her DNA pops up on the
this
mattress
will
in
blow
that van.
the case wide open.
Right. But that was another thing too, is when they tried to get that DNA investigation done, the courts wouldn't allow it. They
They
like,
requested
no, we don't
like 17,
17 different DNA tests.
and they only got 1 approval.
right. And it was
Which
one
is
that
so why?
well, the one that they had was the tape that was on her body when they found her. And if they find anybody else's DNA on that tape, that's a smoking gun, which Marni didn't know what a smoking gun was.
No, I just wanted to.
You didn't. Marni pauses the show and goes, what's a smoking gun?
I just want like a clear understanding of the smoking gun, because I hear it all the time, like whistleblower, smoking gun. That's like what's gonna make you guilty, right? Like
basically
this
the
is
piece
it.
of evidence that says beyond a reasonable doubt, this is what.
I just wanted a goddamn validation of the smoking gun. Stop making me
the
sound like Jessica
The
Simpson.
definition of a smoking gun.
So
So there will be follow-ups, but and there's also this part of me that's like this poor family, like
it's awful.
The family that has to like revisit this. I mean, you're never going to get over.
and they
something
asked
like
her,
this,
they
but
asked her mom to do the Peacock doc, and she said no.
right, because she knew that the narrative was that
Yeah.
like, hey, there's a chance this guy didn't get a fair trial and this guy didn't.
Well, I don't know what she knew. We don't know what, like, how, we have no idea if
I'm
she's
sure that
told.
when they pitched to her, like, hey, we're interviewing Scott in jail. Do you want to be a part of this?
Possibly not.
She's probably like, I want nothing to do with this.
When you're
These
trying to
people-
get somebody to interview, you don't tell them the truth sometimes. You don't. You got to get them in the chair. So you tell them what they want to
Well,
hear.
for whatever reason, this woman would not.
Yeah.
The mother
Yeah.
would not do this. So I hope for the sake of the family also that like this goes away, at least from like public talking about, because like they're just picking a scab, or they're trying to heal and they're just picking
Yeah, it
away.
sucks. Well, thank you for doing God's work, because there's no way in hell Felicia was watching anything Scott Peterson. So thank you.
Oh, I'm just I'm trying to. I hope I didn't let down Felicia's legion of fans.
We're gonna watch.
They're like Swifties,
No.
but with more harsh opinions.
We're gonna watch the Adam Sandler special right now.
Right.
We are going to.
Is this by Felicia segment?
Bye, Felicia.
Don't mess this up like Felicia does. I'm just leading up to
Bye, Marni.
I'm just going to lead up to a few things. So we're going to watch Sandler. Right now, I'm so obsessed with all things Deadpool. So at Disney World, I intend to get like some Deadpool merch. I'm just warning you. Like I watched Deadpool 2 with Lennon and I'm in. I'm just so gung-ho all things Deadpool. I even took him to a Halloween store, people, and they didn't have the Deadpool costumes in yet. And I was like, fuck. But I was getting ahead of the game going to a Spirit Halloween store in August, which I never, ever would have done in my entire life because I'm not a fan of Halloween. And it's not in yet. I gave them my phone number. But you bet I'm nervous about them being sold out. And I don't want to buy it online. I want to go to the store and get it. I want to know that it's the right size and that I have the right accessories. And I don't want to get bamboozled by kidscountry.com on the BBB. That's a scam. It's like Dubai shit. So yes, this is by Felicia, KC. There's a lot of shit coming out this coming week. Okay. Tell Me Lies season 2, Hulu. I cannot fucking wait. You didn't do Tell Me Lies season 1, KC. Not for you. On Netflix on September 5th, The Perfect Couple with Nicole Kidman and Lee Shriver. Can't wait. I feel like maybe you would do that. Is that like the next like White Lotus type of one of those situations?
I mean, I wouldn't mind giving it a shot, but I'm sure that I'm going to be
Slammed.
and then you're going to be. I'm just going to watch it without him.
Well, we'll see. Would you want to watch? This is huge. And I know everybody listening is going to want to watch The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives.
Oh,
on
I'm going to
Hulu.
watch that for sure.
You do.
I've known many a Mormon in my
You
day.
do know Mormons.
Mormons aren't as prevalent out here on the East Coast.
Well, because there are none.
there's no Mormons.
I mean, not that like we're aware of. There's just Jews.
There were a lot more Mormons in California.
Oh, yeah.
You'd see them all over riding their bikes with their white shirts.
I couldn't even
name
tell you
tags.
what a Mormon
They're good
looks like.
people.
I mean, we have a friend that's Mormon, and I enjoy him.
Yeah, one of my
But-
favorite people.
But maybe some of them aren't good. I mean, they're swinging left and right. These Mormon
Sure,
girls.
there's Catholics swinging. I don't think that's exclusive
No,
to
but
the
don't
Mormon
the
community.
Mormons claim that they shouldn't be doing that? No.
I'm sure the Catholics believe they shouldn't be doing that either. I don't know. Like I don't know that that's a sinister Mormon thing.
All right. Well, that's going to be on Hulu and Casey September 6th. Okay. Save the date. September 6th, also Selling Sunset. I know Felicia will be watching that. And on
I
the
don't give a flying fuck about someone.
No, but do you care about the Wise Guy documentary on David Chase, who did The Sopranos on Max, dropping September 7th?
I don't know.
Okay, great. I'll do that without you. So there's a lot coming up. You guys, I hope you enjoyed some Casey time.
Wait.
Yeah.
You have to tell everybody that they need to watch Chimp Crazy.
Chimp Crazy. We need to finish, Casey. Fuck.
I'm in though.
Yeah. You know what? I think we should pause on Sandler and finish Chimp Crazy, then watch Sandler and stay up all night. Stay up all night and just watch shows.
That's a great idea considering we have an Uber coming at like 4:30 in the morning.
No. But this is airing next weekend, so our listeners don't know that.
Are we pretending that this is?
Yes.
What day are we pretending?
So
today
it's
is?
Friday or Saturday. We're at a bat mitzvah. We're at Disney World. Oh my God, that
Can you
was so
believe
fun.
that crazy shit that happened on Thursday? It's wild.
Lennon got a sunburn. Marni got a Deadpool tattoo. So thanks, guys. A quickie, a shorty. We appreciate you. We'll see you next week. Special co-host dropping in next week. It's going to be a fun one.
Spoiler alert. It's not me.
My Felicia, bye, Felicia.